Last summer, during Albin, I went back to my hometown. I dozed off quite a bit on the train, so that night I just cowled and fall asleep. Around 1 in the morning, I decided to kill some time by heading to the convenience store. I was browsing the magazines of questionable ones tucked away in the corner when suddenly I felt eyes on me. I looked up and saw an old man standing just outside the glass front of the store, staring straight at me. A chill ran down my spine. I was hesitant to meet his gaze, worried something bad might happen if our eyes locked, so I pretended not to notice and kept flipping pages. I stole glances at him from the corner of my eye. The man was a bit overweight, wearing dirty, white clothes that looked worn and strange. There was something off about him, but I didn't want to engage, so I returned my attention to the magazines. Still, his unbroken stare made the air feel heavy. It got unbearable. I set the magazine down and grabbed a juice from the fridge to take to the register. As I approached the counter, the cashier glanced at me, then at the old man, their face eyed me awkwardly. I sighed and said, "This guy seems kind of weird. Don't you think?" Yeah. It's a little strange," the cashier replied. "Are you the only one here tonight?" He nodded. I admitted I felt a little uneasy about leaving with that guy just outside, and asked if I could hang around inside to read for a bit. He smiled politely and said, "Sure, no problem. Make yourself comfortable." So I stayed inside about 2 hours. Eventually, a delivery truck arrived, and only after seeing it did the old man finally leave. The delivery driver was unloading goods when he told the cashier, "What was that old guy hanging around outside just now?" He held a knife in his hand. Hearing that, it flooded me. A cold sweat broke out on my face. I felt an icy fear crawl up my spine. I didn't dare walk home alone, so I ended up taking a taxi back. I still don't know what that old man wanted, but I'm glad I didn't leave the store when he was out there. If it faced off with him on the street, who knows what could have happened. This was 20 years ago. I was a student in Goma Prefecture, working the late-night shift at a convenience store near where I lived to earn some spending money. After about 2 weeks on the job, I had finally conquered my nerves around customers and was getting the hang of things. I got along well with the manager and senior staff, too. One night, around 3 the store was empty. My senior co-worker, an experienced veteran and an upperclassman from my school, was holed up in the office reading a manga. I was alone in the storage room behind the fridges, restocking drinks. I was carefully sliding bottles into the deep fridge, when I suddenly felt someone watching me. I looked up but saw nothing out of place. Maybe I was imagining it, I thought, but as I slid the last drinks into the fridge, I glanced through a narrow gap in the drink shelves and froze. They're peering at me with a pale face, mostly hidden beneath long dark hair. I screamed and fell backward onto the floor. My senior rushed in, asking what happened. I told him everything, trembling. He tried to calm me down, saying, "It's nothing. You get used to it after seeing it a few times." I thought to myself, get used to it? What the hell is that thing? Am I going to keep seeing it forever? I spent the rest of the night jumpy and shaken, that terrifying image flashing through my mind over and over and over. The next morning, clocking out and handing over to the manager, I told him what had happened, and he looked serious. "Don't tell the new guys about this, okay?" Then he handed me a 10-1,000 yen bill, something like hush money. Later, at work, I asked my senior about the woman. He just warned me again, keep quiet. Don't tell the rookies. She won't harm us, but she loves to watch. Until I left that job, I never figured out what she was. One thing was clear, she was human. But during those years working at that shop, I lost count of how many times I locked eyes with that woman. At first, it terrified me, really scared me, but just like my senior said, if you stare long enough, you get used to it. After I got used to her, sometimes when she suddenly appeared out of nowhere, I'd get annoyed and actually try to interact with her. And every time, just in the blink of an eye, she would vanish. A few new hires didn't last long. They got so scared of her that they quit after just a few days. By the way, her eyes were bloodshot all over, like the whites had completely turned red. Now looking back, that image still gives me the creeps. It previously worked at a convenience store for a few months. and that's when I first ran into something strange. Our store was open until 1. Staffed in pairs until closing. After 1, it switched to single-minus person shifts until 6. One night, my senior, who was supposed to finish at 1, suddenly asked, "Hey, cool speed. Do you mind if I stay here until dawn tonight?" I said, "Sure, no problem," though that night wasn't particularly busy, so no reason for overtime. Curious, I asked, "Why? Your place is close, right? Like a 5-minute walk? Did you lose your keys or something?" He gave a bitter smile and said, No, it's not work-minus related. I've already clocked out. I just want to hang out in the office for a few hours." Our store had a tiny little office behind the door near the cash register. It held a computer desk, changing room, and supply cabinets. Barely fit to people. He said he wanted to stay there for 3 or 4 hours more. That puzzled me, so I asked again. He told me sometimes during his night shift while sitting in the office he'd hear sounds like the door chime ringing from someone entering the store. But when he popped outside the office, nobody was there. Normally, the entrance bell sometimes got triggered by the wind or vibration, and sometimes people came in without the bell ringing. So, he didn't think much of it. But one night, while working the night shift in the office, he heard a voice calling out, "Excuse me? Is anyone there?" Because he was right by the door, he ran out immediately. Still, the store was empty. Then another night, he heard a shout again. He checked the monitors inside and outside the store, no sign of anyone. He told me this kind of thing happened once or twice a week, and asked if it ever experienced something similar. I told him I worked night shifts twice a week too, but had never heard or seen anything like that. He chuckled bitterly. I see. Well, please take care tonight." Then he went into the office. 2 hours later, it was almost 3. That night was nearly empty, and thanks to him, we finished work early. We were just chatting in the office when, suddenly, from just outside the door behind me, I heard that hesitant voice again. Hearing it, I remember what my senior had told me. I glanced at him. He went straight to the monitor and shook his head. "No one outside?" he said, though I felt a growing unease. I figured I had to check. Just as I reached out toward the door, he called out sharply, "Wait." He pointed to a spot on the screen, the area behind the cash register. There, on the edge of the monitor's blind spot just outside the office door, we saw a pair of a woman's feet in a shadow of black hair. Judging from the angle, she was pressed against the wall, her long hair hiding everything above her knees. Because it was caught in a blind spot, only part of her was visible on the camera. I froze, afraid to move or look away. There was a small square window in the door behind me, though it was probably too dark for anyone outside to see in. I had the terrifying feeling she was watching us through it. A short while later, my senior said, "She's gone." By then, the monitor showed no sign of anyone. I was so scared that night I begged him to stay with me until my shift ended. In the weeks after that, though my heart still churned with fear, I never saw that woman again on the monitor. No strange noises. Nothing. Then, after about a month, my senior suddenly resigned. I asked the store manager why he left. From the store manager, I learned that the day after my senior and I saw that woman, she confirmed with him how to check the surveillance footage. And not long after that, she handed in her resignation. The manager said he didn't know exactly what happened, but he didn't think she had done anything wrong. Still, I was very curious about what exactly she had seen. So, I asked the manager how to access the surveillance system. Then one day, when I was working alone, I watched the footage myself. After seeing it, I finally understood why my senior had quit. The footage was from before the night my senior stayed late with me. That night was cool. She was working alone on the late shift, and the camera caught that woman again. She was standing right outside the office door. The store was empty, but my senior seemed to hear a call and walked out of the office. When she opened the door and stepped out, she literally walked right through the woman. I'm pretty sure my senior saw that too. That must be why she quit. After that, I casually asked the manager and other co-workers if anyone had experienced anything strange. but they all said no. Who exactly was that woman? Since my senior left, nothing weird has happened in the store again. But after watching that footage, I was too scared and ended up quitting not long afterward. Even now, I still wonder, did that woman follow my senior? Or is she still standing there, waiting? Not long ago, my friend and I had a terrifying encounter. That day, after work, around 4 in the morning, I went to a convenience store near my house to buy some beer. The night clerk was my friend, a cute girl. When I arrived, there was only her and an unfamiliar man in the store. I greeted my friend, and she told me she was working until 6 and asked me to wait until she finished so we could go home together. Then, in a whisper, she said, "Look at that man standing over there reading a magazine. Ain't she acting weird?" I glanced over and asked, "What's wrong with him?" She said, "Look at his pants." I turned again and noticed his pants from the knees down were covered in reed. "You look like blood." When I caught his eyes, he noticed me too. He looked right at me with this strange smile. I felt disgusted and wanted to leave. But my friend was scared and kept begging me to stay with her until she finished. Seeing her almost in tears, I cowed in refuse. So, I stood by that man, pretending to read a magazine while waiting for my friend to clock out. As I stood close, the man kept muttering to himself. I listened carefully. He said something like, "There's a face. And you. And the red friend." It made no sense at all. I figured he must be mentally unstable. Feeling uneasy, I pretended not to hear and stared back down at the magazine. After a while, I noticed he had disappeared. Seeing that strange man leave, I felt a wave of relief. Then I kept reading. At 6 o'clock, my friend finished her shift, and we walked home together. But as we passed through an alley, we saw the man again. He stood some distance ahead, his mouth wide open in a grin as he looked at us. My friend said, "Gross. Let's ignore him." We tried to walk past without acknowledging him. As we went by, I noticed he was eating something. We glanced at what was in his hand and froze. It was a crow's head. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the bag in his other hand was full of crow carcasses. I grabbed my friend's hand and ran away as fast as we could. Once we got back to our homes safely, I immediately hid under my covers. By noon, I woke up and saw dozens of missed calls from my friend on my phone. I called back at once. He told me that when he got home that morning, he checked his mailbox and found a headless, mangled crow corpse inside. Listening to his story gave me chills all over, goosebumps breaking out across my skin. My friend said he felt it was dangerous and decided to quit his job. He planned to find a new place and move out as soon as possible that very day. Neither my friend nor I ever figured out who that man really was, or why he did what he did. But every time I think back on it, I get the uneasy feeling that some crazy person's actions can be even scarier than ghosts. This story comes from my friend's time working at a certain convenience store. My friend, Zancy, works nights there, usually alone. During her shift, the same regular customer would always come in, a strikingly beautiful woman who seemed to work at a nightclub. Every night, the woman would come in, buy the same flavor of bento box, then leave. Presumably, it was her dinner before work. Zancy had a good impression of her, even found her appearance captivating. But she never had the courage to speak to her, just secretly watched from a distance. One day, that woman suddenly stopped coming. Zancy felt a bit down. She wondered if the woman had noticed her staring and was avoiding the store because of it. Not long after, Zancy was moved to the late-night shift. One night, as she stood alone behind the register, passing the time, the woman walked in again, head bowed low. But Zancy recognized her immediately. She was thrilled to see her again and, as usual, watched her from the sidelines. The woman moved to the bento section as before, still looking down, like she didn't want anyone to see her face. Feeling maybe the woman had caught her staring, Zancy slipped back into the office and watched her through the security monitor, wondering what she would do if she never saw her again. Zancy summoned her courage to try to talk to the woman sometime to maybe become friends. While she thought this, something strange happened on the screen. The woman suddenly opened a bento box right there in front of the fridge and started eating it ravenously like she hadn't eaten in days. Zancy was shocked. She rushed out of the office to stop her. But when she looked toward the bento corner, no one was there. She checked the shelves. All the bentos weren't touched. Unopened, exactly as they'd been. She was frozen, completely confused. She told herself she must be tired and imagining things, but the image of that woman devouring food so violently stayed burned in her mind. Morning came and the next shift arrived. Sensi went home to sleep. When she came back to work that night, the manager asked her in the handover if there had been a power outage the night before. She said no. Nothing like that? Curious. She asked what was going on. The manager told her a customer had complained recently their bento tasted sour and rotten. Seemed spoiled. Hearing this, Zanzi remembered her strange experience, but thought it was probably unrelated. So she didn't mention it to the manager. Later that same night, while dozing off in the office, the customer bell rang and woke her. Glancing at the monitor, it was the woman again. She walked over to the bento section, pulled open a box as before, and began furiously eating. Zansi dashed out again and the same strange scene repeated. No one was actually there, and the bentos appeared untouched. Recalling the customer complaint, she grabbed the same bento the woman always bought. At the register, she bought it, opened it and immediately smelled a strong sour, rotten stench. The freshly stocked bento was spoiled. She was utterly baffled, a growing chill creeping over her. She threw out the bentos, took the whole shelf offline. The next morning, the manager came by. As they prepared for the shift handover, Zansi was about to tell the manager about the strange things happening late at night. But the manager pointed to a local morning paper. Look, this bizarre case happened just near our store. The article said a woman had been found dead in her home already 2 weeks deceased. Police had arrested the culprit regular at the club where she worked. The man had been cheated out of all his money by the woman, sparking a money dispute between them. One day, he broke into her home, assaulted her, tied her up, and locked her in the bathroom. With broken arms and legs, she cowed an escape and starved to death locked inside that bathroom. After reading the article, Zansi broke out in a cold sweat. Only then did she truly understand why those bentos on the shelf had spoiled so suddenly. That woman had been long dead. Why did people leave their jobs? Everyone probably has their own reasons: low pay, hard work, feeling like they're not making a difference. I've had a few jobs myself. Sometimes when resigning, you have to carefully think up a good excuse. But once, there was no way I could keep going. It had reached the point where quitting was just a choice that was necessary. They might call it a sixth sense, maybe something mystical, but I felt if I went back to work, things could get truly terrifying. Here's how it went. This was about 10 years ago, when I was 20-1. I was working the night shift at a convenience store. At the time, I didn't have any big dreams, and plenty of time on my hands. So aside from weekends, I worked nearly every day. Honestly, that convenience store was pretty quiet. At midnight, almost no customers came in. There was a broad road in front of the shop, but deep into the night, only trucks or the occasional gang of bikers stepped by. The night shift was a 1-person job. Once all the tasks were done, I could kill time by reading manga, scrolling on my phone, or smoking, just waiting for morning to come. An easy job, the kind someone with no special skills like me could manage. One night, just like usual, I finished my work, then kicked back in the office with a juice, flipping through a magazine. I thought to myself, so boring. No customers for 2 hours straight. That's how the night shift was. I decided to leave the office to use the bathroom. For safety, I peeked outside first to see if anyone was coming. That's when I saw her. Across the road, a woman was standing there. She wasn't walking, just standing, facing the store. I wondered what she was doing there, standing at that hour. It felt strange. Was she waiting for someone? Planning to meet up? But who meets that late? And even so, why not come to the convenience store parking lot? It was brighter, safer here. Curious, I tried to make out her face, but the distance was too far. She just stood quietly across the street, waiting without moving. In the end, it didn't seem like a big deal since she didn't look like she intended to come inside. So I headed to the bathroom. After finishing, I looked outside again. She was gone. I wondered where she had gone, then returned to the office, passing the rest of my shift quietly. The next day, during work hours, I was stocking shelves, since deliveries usually arrive at midnight, and this was a quiet store. The amount was small. I hummed a tune as I worked easily. While arranging goods, I glanced outside and saw her again. It was that same woman from yesterday. A strange feeling settled in. What exactly was she doing standing there? She still stood motionless, facing the store. Looking closer, her outfit seemed old-fashioned, like something a mother would wear to a parent-teacher meeting back in the Showa era. It felt odd, so I tried not to look and focused on my work. After a while, I peeked again. She was gone. I thought, what the hell is this? This is annoying. Then I went to the office and opened the work log where we note anything unusual, complaints, or customer requests for the next shift in manager. Usually on my weekends off, the manager's son takes the night shift. HES close, 2:30 and a bit clumsy. So I jotted down a brief note about the strange woman. I wrote around 3 o'clock. A strange woman has been seen repeatedly on the street opposite. Notably, she has shown any intention of entering the store. After that, I slacked off until the end of my shift and happily enjoyed 2 days off. Monday night shifts are busy with new merchandise deliveries, so the manager's son and I worked together. He wasn't very slick and I ended up doing almost all the work. But since I usually worked alone and got bored, it was nice to have someone else there. During our night shifts, we talked a lot. We chatted about small things like steel ball games and travel plans. Then, suddenly, he brought up the woman. "Who's the woman you wrote about in your notes?" he asked. I replied, last week there was this strange woman. She just stood there, didn't do anything. And at this late hour, it felt really eerie. He said, Lately, there've been a lot of odd people around. Probably nothing to worry about. But as we spoke, he looked out the window. Could it be that one? After his question, I looked outside too. Yeah, it's her, the woman. She had appeared again. The store manager's son hesitated slightly, but maybe because he was older, he still had an air of confidence about him. Should we go ask what she's doing out there? He suggested. I think it's better not to. Something feels off. He told me she might be a potential robber, scoping out our place. Maybe she's watching for weaknesses. I should check it out. Then he walked to the shop entrance. He stepped outside and called out, Hey, what are you doing out there? Are you waiting for someone? I watched the woman, but she gave no response. I said, Forget it. Let's not bother her. Just pretend we didn't see anything. All right, he agreed. After a while, I looked outside again. She was gone. The next day was the usual. I worked the night shift alone. After my shift ended, I lingered in the office, killing time. In the quiet when everyone else was asleep, I wondered how long I could keep doing this job. That question weighed heavily on my mind, and I stepped out to use the restroom. Suddenly, a chill ran through me as I glanced outside. There she was. Even though I knew she wouldn't move or do anything, I stared, wondering what on earth was going on. Along with some irritation, a deep unease and fear welled up inside me. Anyway, I told myself, just get to the bathroom. I stepped inside. As I did, I tried to steady my trembling breath. Just then, the bell over the shop door rang. Someone had entered. It's not uncommon for customers to come in while I'm in the restroom, so I hurried to finish up and open the door. The moment I stepped out, I froze. A shiver ran through me and my hands trembled uncontrollably. The woman was standing just a few steps from the bathroom. Her hair was long, wild. Her face was deathly pale. Her eyes were blood red. She radiated hostility and smiled at me. The fear locked me in place for several seconds. With nowhere to run, I darted back inside and slammed the door shut. But immediately, the door handle began to slowly turn. Seeing this, I grabbed it tightly, trying to keep her out. I was drenched in a cold sweat, breath coming in short gasps. caught in a wave of panic. She kept twisting the handle, trying to force the door open. After what felt like an eternity, maybe half a minute, the handle stopped moving. I kept breathing hard and wondered, what the hell just happened? Had she left? But suddenly, the bell didn't ring at the door. While I was lost in thought, a heavy knock pounded on the bathroom door like a hammer blow. Then came her laugh from outside. The shock overwhelmed me, and as her laughter echoed, I lost consciousness. When I came to, I was sitting on the bathroom floor. A man's voice called out from the store. "Is someone there?" I carefully opened the door. The terrifying woman was gone. Later, I walked over to the register and was scolded by a middle-aged male customer. "Hey kid, you were in the bathroom? I thought the shop was empty." I apologized quickly. For the rest of the night, I was on edge. He was on edge. Heart pounding. Back home, I collapsed on my bed, weak on shis. I texted the manager, saying, "I can't come in tonight. I'm taking the day off." That day I was young, lying curled up under my blanket. I felt like I was drowning in despair, but that woman's haunting face refused to leave my mind. The next morning, my phone rang. The ringtone startled me awake, a jolt of fear running through me. I unlocked my phone to see it was a call from the store manager. I answered, heart already pounding. The manager's voice was tight, strained. "Something's come up. Can you come by the store and help out?" I asked, "What happened?" He hesitated, then said, "My son, he covered your night shift yesterday, and then he just disappeared." I blinked, caught off guard. "Disappeared? How?" "The police called," he explained. "A customer came into the store late last night, but there was no power inside. That seemed suspicious, so they reported it. They searched everywhere but couldn't find my son. He left the store suddenly and then vanished. No trace." I listened in stunned silence. My mind flashed back to that night inside the store, the cold dark, the strange feeling of being watched. The situation was urgent, chaotic. I knew I had to go. When I arrived, I finished the leftover work his son had left behind and then stepped into the office. After talking with the manager, I asked about his son's disappearance. He told me. I checked the security footage. Around 3 in the morning, he went to the bathroom. Then he came out and walked straight to the entrance. Then he left the store. A cold dread settled in my chest. I asked to see the footage myself. Together, we watched in silence. "See? He came out of the bathroom alone and walked out. Right? But where did he go after that?" As I watched that tape again, something didn't feel right. That day, I made my decision. I told the manager I was quitting. She looked shocked, begged me to stay. There was no one else to fill in. But it reached my limit. Fear had sunk deep inside me, especially at night, after what I'd seen. After that, I never went back to the store. Not really. It wasn't just fear of the place. It was fear of her. The woman. The one who haunted my nightmares, the one I saw in the footage. The thought of her, lurking just beyond my